Hi everybody. So I am finally here with the long overdue promised comparison video of 3 versions of the Rider-Waite Smith tarot deck. So I apologize for the delay first of all, and so it's just one thing after another. And so I apologize for the delays and thank you for waiting and for your patience. So 3 versions. First of all, I would like to note that I can only compare and speak about the decks particular to the copy that I have, to take into consideration printing varieties, which I haven't really heard of such a variety in any of these editions, but just in case, there is always a possibility that from batch to batch of production, the same publishers often have slight variation in reproductive and printing quality. So second of all, these two are called the original Rider-Waite Tarot Pack. And both of them have the US Games 1971 copyright. Let me just try to focus this for you. It's not going to be, yeah, it's not. I tried the last time, it wasn't working. So let's try this one. Nope, there it is. Suffice to say, both says copyright 1971 US Games on these. And the third note, this one doesn't have it. The third note is that upon comparing for myself, based on an array of close-up images from a web page that I will link below, I have concluded for myself, and to the agreement of a few others, is that these so-called 1971 US Games images that has been copyrighted or that has been used for the basis of at least these 2 versions of the original, quote-unquote, are closely the closest resembling Pam C. Whether these are based on Pam C or not, I can't say unequivocally because I do not have the original Pam C, but just based on the images on that particular website, which again I will link below, these images, copyrighted 1971, which have been used as the basis of these 2 decks, the quote-unquote original Rider-Waite tarot deck, resemble the closest Pam C. This one here, AGM-Urania, the last one, Tarot of A.E. Waite, which stated here in the back as a reproduction of the first edition from 1909, indeed resemble the most Pam A, which is first edition with the crackle back, as well as the one with the lilies and roses back, which this one here was only out for a few months before it was replaced by the crackle pebble back here, both in 1909, I believe. So with that note, we may not necessarily comparing apple with apple here, because if some of our guess or educated guess and observation is correct, we are sort of effectively comparing a reproduction of Pam C in these 2 with a reproduction of Pam A in this one here. So that's just to note. Right. The other note, I can't remember whether that's a fourth or a third note, is that this one here I often heard people quote this as being by US Games, but from what I can see here, it is by somebody else, which website here is mbs-mindbodyspirit.com. The web page itself is a name of a person, sounding male sounding name, in the UK, based in the UK. And both of these have booklets and the rest of it, which the copyright of the deck itself and not the images are from the estate of A.E. Waite, and both copyrighted estate of A.E. Waite 1993, both of these. It is not very clear when this was produced. I can't seem to find that information. And this is considered vintage because, again, secondary information I obtained from secondary sources informed me that this is vintage. So I'm not quite sure whether this is out of print. This is by Rider Books. Here it is. Right, so let's begin. I may have to do a separate video for the booklet, comparing the booklet between this, and that. So let's just now look at the images. So this one here on this pile is from this edition here. In the middle is from Rider Books edition here. And this one here is by AGM-Urania. Right, so I'll put the boxes there just to remind you and to remind myself, because I don't want to confuse these two. So these two have the back of Pam, not Pam A, the back of the first edition. This one has the back of the first edition Pam A. As you can see, the one on the far left is the most reddish. Let me focus. Let's look at a close-up. I wonder if the far left, that one there, is similar to what people call the blushing fool, with that very reddish dots all over its face, almost as if the resolution's broken, low resolution broken too far, or low resolution images that's expanded too far and they started breaking or pixelating in today's digital world. It's that kind of the analog version of pixelation, I suppose, or it feels like it anyway. Well, here you can see it's smooth, there isn't any. I'm just going to go through the major arcana just to manage the length of the video. So first, let's look at the long view. And then we'll take a look at a closer look. Once again, the far left is the much maligned original quote-unquote Rider-Waite Smith Rider-Waite deck, with what is commonly complained about blotchy lines on the left there. And look at the magician's faces. The one on the far left is very blotchy red, and then gradually it disappears to a very clean skin color on the right here. Now, whether these images have been tweaked from the original reproduction, I can't tell, unless I have the original in my own hands, which I don't. I can only extrapolate. The one in the middle is a lot warmer. AGM's current tarot of Waite, or tarot von A.E. Waite, is a lot more cooler in its undertone. And the one on the left by Mind, Body, Spirit just seems to have that red the red is cranked all the way up, typical of some of the more recent US games reproductions of the Thoth, for example, seem to be a bit more like the colors tuned up a little unnaturally. I'm not quite sure what the term is, but that sort of a reddish tint, a reddish hue undertone that seems to be overplayed to increase the intensity of the colors. It's almost as if the byproduct of that increasing intensity of colors is this reddish hue. Once again, feel free to freeze this screen here so you can inspect them further at your own leisure. I'm gonna have to do it a bit quicker than I would have preferred if I were to inspect this one by one myself, just to manage the length of this video. Let's look at the faces. Let's look at the skin tones there. Once again, if this is the first time you watch my video, my camera is very basic. It is a tablet. It's an Android tablet, and it is not autofocus, so I have to use my finger to double tap on the screen to focus them for you, to focus it for you. Let's do a close-up. Interestingly, AGM's Emperor's cheek is redder here. The eyes are a lot clearer here. You can see almost the black and white of the eyes, a little bit more shadowed there. If facial expression is important to you, that eyes certainly, the more detailed eyes there certainly make his face a lot more expressive, and with the reddish cheek. The background appears more orange on the AGM version on the right, a bit more reddish on both the so-called original. The middle one is by Rider Books, I believe 1993. And the far left is by MBS-mindbodyspirit.com. Although the images of these two here are copyrighted 1979 US games, the whole deck for these two here are copyrighted under the estate of A.E. Waite. I'm looking at the skin color or facial tone coloring again there. Yellow, orangey skin color that's really, really dark orange. And we zoom out. And this is the image of the lover's card that was used as a sample close-up image, comparison image on the Waite website, worldofplayingcards.co.uk. Again, these two on the left are closely resembling Pam C. And the one on the right here by AGM, seemingly closest to Pam A. Again, I will link that web page below. I've also had a impromptu comparison video using the images I see on my computer screen. In particular, that blotch in front of, straight in front of Eve's face. The other thing I forgot to note is that I've managed to get a close-up image of a vintage US Games non-copyrighted image, and that particular one resembled closest is closest in comparison to Pam A. So vintage US Games non-copyrighted images, at least in that one particular close-up image that I saw, resemble closest Pam A. So that's interesting. It means that we can theorize that US Games may have used the variety of the PAMs throughout its history of printing. So somebody pointed out the eyelid of the angel. As you can see here, there is the reddish of the eyelid of the angel. And these two on the left here, copyrighted US Game 1971, do not have that, I don't believe. Let's take a look again. There it is. US Games 1971 copyright, original, quote-unquote, by Writer Books and by MBS-mindbodyspirit.com. And here is the AGM. So again, based on the eyelid with the red on the eyelids there, we can theorize, again, unless I have the original next to me, we can theorize that this is Pam A and these two is Pam C. And that, interestingly, US Games pre-copyrighted 1971 images, that is US Games images without the copyright on the front, seem to resemble closest Pam A as well. So I will let you freeze that. Let's take a closer look at the faces. These two seems to be a bit stern on the... This one look a bit more friendly, the face. Isn't that interesting? That's just, whoops, excuse me. It's just a slight... Pardon my skin here, it's really cold. It's in the winter and I have really thin skin and it's beginning to crack. So anyway, the face there. And the face here. This is the cover of AGM's box. Again, excuse my hand when I'm trying to focus this. Let's do a close up. I mean, if you think about it, the original that is most widely available at the time of the making of this video, which is this one here, that box there, this one here. It's not that blotchy, is it? I mean, the lines, the black, you know, the ink. It's pretty obvious in the Death card and the King of Pentacles, I suppose. That's when the blotchy lines can really muddy the whole picture. But also AGM's cardstock's just amazing. As the cardstock, something else. It's really dense and flexible. So here's the Hermit. Close up. I'll have to, again, don't want to repeat myself, but you may have to freeze and pause. If you want to have a look at very particular parts, specific corner or specific detailing of a card, just post a message down below and I'll do a clip. Is this focused? Let me, hold on. This color is more blotchy in these two, a bit more orangey over there, very solid and yellowy over here, so that's a running theme. Lines in the clouds a bit more obvious there, less obvious there, and not very obvious here. And again, the hue, very reddish orange on these two on the left, and more yellowish orange on AGM's. Now this is when the muddy line perhaps is a bit more obvious. Again, the face is just a lot clearer on AGM's, but it is a bit yellowish. So for some of you who prefer warmer color, and that sort of reddish rashes looking thing over here is more prominent. A bit of rash on here and none on here. For once, I actually think that the eyes are clearer on the two on the left and not so clear on the right. But we have similar blotchiness on the two on the left and none. Let me see, a little bit. I think that is a byproduct of analog image making. This is where the blotchiness become quite apparent. let's just have a look at the background image on the floor there, on the ground. You can see a bit more that there is a little, well, not a little, but in the foreground, the ship, the hill, the tree. You can see there's tree here. This is just sort of black blotch. You see trees. See the two towers here with the sun rising there. King, child, crown. That's the Pope's staff. A human person. But it is the tree and the ship in the background that becomes so much more obvious on the AGM's version, based on PAM A, and on the two on the left, which I suspect is based on PAM C. But also on top of all that is the quality of the reproduction, quality of printing. I'm sure plays a huge part. Play a huge part in the end product. So, temperance. Again, I'm going to have to focus for you using my right hand, so pardon me. Look at the wings. It's just a lot clearer, crisper line on the AGM. Very lovely middle ground in the middle there by Rider Books. Let's get a close-up. In particular, I'm looking at the faces and the wings, the definition of the angel's wings. The skin tone and the texturing on the face. Facial expression seems to be just slightly different as well, which is interesting. It makes me wonder whether it's been tweaked. If these are later images, if we are correct in guessing that these are based on PAM-C, and if they were tweaked, why would they look more stern than happy? Interesting. What appear to be greenish blue on the two on the left is more blue, baby blue on the right. Hold on a second, I may have to stir the fire. It's very, very cold. Hold on. Okay, we're on the devil now. I'm looking at the devil's face, his horns, very pale here, a bit more colored there, consistent with the more reddish overtone, makes it warmer. Skin's a bit more yellow, again consistent with the rest of the deck. On the right here. Let's have a look at the human. Feel free to freeze that. Tower. There's a couple of colors there. There's solid one color over on the other two. The ground's more green on the right and a bit more not on the left, on the two on the left here. Oops. Okay. This is another card that is often used to do comparisons or detail comparisons or comparisons on details by examining particular corner of a card, of the particular detailing of a particular card. One that was pointed by the worldofplayingcards.co.uk is that squiggle next to the Roman numeral 19 at the top. Let's have a closer look. If memory serves me right, the PAM B for beta, is the one where the flag doesn't have those lines, those striations. So a closer look at the baby. The eyes are slightly different. This one seems to be more open. All are smiling. Skin's blotchiest to least blotchy, reddish. Red, the most red to yellowish. The horse. Judgment. Okay, again I'm focusing with my right hand. Interesting, more detailed textured or on the cross there. last card. I would love for anyone who owns the original to comment as to whether originally the blue is baby blue, more like that, or more greenish blue like the two on the left. Solid, more solid color there in the human. A bit more reddish here. A bit more blotchy, shall we say. The eagle is a bit more colored here, but a bit more pale there. Let's have a close look at the woman. Eyes a bit more defined here in these two. Skin smoother here. Blotchy with more reddish spots here. So that's it, everybody. Whoops. I hope that is of some use, and I will try maybe to do a bit of comparison for the booklet in a separate video, because this is hitting 37 minutes. For the same reason I don't do the minors, because I think you get a sense of the differences by looking through the majors. They're pretty consistent within the deck, the characteristic which distinguish them to each other. And I will probably do a separate video on the booklets. So that's it for now, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.